Welcome back to Making a Difference. I'm Steve Strum. This morning we have Joseph George from George George ADR Group. ADR Group standing for Alternative Dispute Resolution.
Yes.
Tell us what you are and what is George George ADR Group?
George George ADR Group is a boutique firm where we assist people in resolving disputes, whether it's arbitration, mediation, or negotiation. We assist in those three areas of resolving their disputes, whether it's a private company, federal agency, or just two community officials that have issues. We help them resolve it.
And you do that hopefully because of the alternative portion of the dispute resolution outside of the courtroom.
Yes, because litigation is a pretty expensive process and lengthy, and arbitration and mediation is a shorter process, less expensive process.
Understood. So if two people are having a disagreement, just so I can get that. So normally people go in and I'm going to hire an attorney, and I'm going to hire an attorney, and we're going in front of a judge, and the judge is going to be what it is. Cost, obviously, for legal services plus court and all that other stuff can be, a longer process,
Yes.
as well as, like you had said, more expensive. For what you guys are doing, you're trying to help people come to that same resolution. Now, obviously, if it's a murder trial, then you do need to go to the judge. So there's some things that alternative dispute can't cover.
No.
But what are some of the things that you find, because we have had the opportunity to chat about this before, what are some of the things that you have found in the last couple of years that are very popular for alternative dispute resolution for the folks that are listening to this, and if that's something that they need versus traditional legal services?
I feel they need a lot more mediation out there to resolve cases within employment. A lot of the employment disputes now is best to be resolved through mediation or arbitration. And a lot of firms, companies, and HR departments and HR separate firms use what we call a mediation or arbitration clause within their applications now to help assist with that, so they could proceed with arbitration or mediation before they actually go to court.
So let's talk about that for a moment, because we are in the state of Florida. The state of Florida is a right-to-work state.
Yes.
I can hire you or fire you, and you can hire me or fire me for whatever the reasons that you find are appropriate, and even if you don't have a reason, it's okay.
Yes.
What are you seeing as, in a right-to-work state, as something that is occurring when you now terminate people that requires the HR department to have a clause that talks about mediation in the first place? What is it that's out there as a trend that you're seeing that is making this more important than ever?
A lot of companies now, they hire what I call a pulse. Somebody just hire a body just to fill a position, and that person actually creates what you call a toxic environment. So when you create a toxic environment, what you actually do is you create an environment where now employees are not satisfied and not happy with the way the organization is run. So then you have disputes that come out of that. And then some HR companies are not equipped to handle those type of disputes. So they'll bring in a firm like MindZone as a third party to resolve that dispute before they get an EEOC case gets filed against them. Because nobody wants an EEOC claim to be filed against them, because now you have the federal agency coming in that's doing the investigation and try to figure out what type of discrimination case or type of wrongful termination has been violated against that employee.
And an EEOC now is not just I'm white, black, or purple, I'm gay, straight, or something different, and this is my religious beliefs.
Nope.
EEOC covers like a wide array of anything that can happen.
Yep. Sex, age, national origin, gender. It's so wide right now that everything has changed since COVID.
Right, and people are almost afraid to hire people because they're worried about, we have a tight labor market, right? You have two jobs for every one person unemployed. Even now, still today, there's still a super tight labor market. So people are just, like you said, putting bodies to do the work.
Yep.
And as I'm understanding it, you help people, because hiring, right, unfortunately, ends with firing sometimes.
Yep.
But as a business owner, I can hire with confidence, knowing that we have a plan. If that person works out, they get promoted and they're fabulous, regardless of whatever gender identity and or racial background or whatever those items are. They have an equal opportunity to be successful.
Yes.
If they're not, then you are going to get in the process with me to help avert an EEOC claim.
Yes.
Because those guys come in guilty till proven innocent type of scenario. Or help me create my own handbook by which I can, if I do have to terminate somebody, that I can do it in a way that lowers the cost because they're not going to get into that problem to begin with.
Yes.
That is phenomenal. And I bet you people out there listening to this right now are like, yes, I understand that that is a big concern, almost to the point where you're afraid to hire somebody
Yes.
because you're afraid of the last fire that went terrible.
Yes.
If people want to find out more about you, what's the best way to connect?
They could go to our website at www.georgeadr.com,
Okay.
and they could find us there. And that's the A&D.
George, A-N-D, George, not
Yes.
ampersand. So George, A-N-D, George, ADR.com.
Yeah. And that's the short and then the version is alternative dispute resolution. So that's what ADR stands for.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for coming. That is what a neat idea on an old thing of hiring and firing. That is
Yes.
really great, and I'm sure that people really appreciate you.
Yeah, and there's one thing that I want to throw out there. People need to stop
Yeah.
calling it the great resignation and call it the great employer termination, because the door swings both ways. If a company is not meeting the employee standards or living up to the benefits that they tell the employee during the hiring process, then that employer has the right to fire the employer the same way as the employer have the right to fire an employee. So I always say it's the great employer resignation, termination.
Can we find out more about that on the website?
Yes.
George and George, ADR.com, about the great termination?
Employer termination.
The great employer termination. Got
Yes.
it. Thanks for joining. That's really neat. Guys, thanks for joining us on Making a Difference. If you like us, share us. Remember, live with gratitude.